ladies and gentlemen, welcome to my Enhancement Shaman guide on how to play the Enhancement Shaman, all the gear you need, the talents, legendary stat priorities. I'm going to be covering a whole bunch in this video, but before I start, on screen you're going to see all the things I'm going to cover and the time they start. So if you just want to see, for example, Legendaries, I'm going to have like a time on the screen, it's going to say Legendaries, just go to that time and boom, I'll be talking about Legendaries right there. So yeah, without further ado though, the first thing I'll be covering is stat priority, which is really important. So Enhancement Shaman, the stat priorities for it aren't really difficult at all. There are pretty much 3 stats that you really need to focus on, and everything else is not as really important. They're sort of irrelevant. So first things first, number 1 stat is agility. This will give you the most bang for your buck, if in a sense. Every point you pump into this, it'll be giving you a shitload of damage. It's raw damage, pretty much. So, agility, if your gear has a bit more agility, I'd invest in simulating your character, SIMCRAFTing. More about that later on in the video, and seeing how much extra damage it is compared to another piece of gear you have. Now, aside from agility, which is on pretty much everything, the 2 stats you're going to be focusing on is haste and mastery. Now, haste and mastery, the way these work, it's a little interesting. Basically, you sort of want to keep them roughly even. And when I say roughly even, I mean by the amount you have. So as you can see, I have 7,530 mastery and currently 8,777 haste. So in my case right now, due to the limitations of my gear, I'd need to get a little bit more mastery just to bring it roughly in line with haste. Now, in saying all of this, every piece of gear you get, you're going to want to simulate. Now, what I mean by that is there is an add-on that you can get for the game, which is called SIMCRAFT. Now, what SIMCRAFT is, it basically gets your character, your gear, your talents, and everything about your character, and puts them into a perfect environment. So basically, say that this training dummy is a boss. You're basically doing everything perfectly, and you haven't screwed up anything, your rotation's perfect for a 3 or 5 minute fight. In saying this, basically what it'll do, it'll spit out a number which is your maximum throughput potential DPS you can do with your character. So basically, it's basically if you were to be literally a robot and not miss anything, have everything on cooldown, use everything perfectly, it'll spit out a number which is your top DPS. Basically, you're going to want to simulate your character and see what gear is better. This add-on is called SIMCRAFT. There's also another add-on which I'll talk about later on, which helps you with your stat priority. I'll go into that later on. So yeah, basically, your main stats is agility, just as much as you can get of it. Haste mastery, try and keep them around even, and critical strike and versatility. Critical strike's a bit better, versatility is not as good, but those 2 once again keep critical strike and versatility around even. But even if you can't do that, as you can see, I've only got 3,400 verse and 6.43 crit. It doesn't really matter. Those stats, we don't really rely on them as much, so we don't really need them. It's just basically haste and mastery. Now, the reason why haste and mastery is really big is mastery, it's straight up just mastery straight up just helps you proc your Storm Strike a bit more. That's simply that, and Wind Fury as well. Sorry, and it also increases the elemental damage you do. So Frostbrand would be I think it's flame damage, and you got Lava Lash, which is just literally raw lava slash flame damage, etc., etc. So that's why mastery is so good. Haste. Quite simply, you're auto-attacking the target more, you're getting a lot more Maelstrom generation in, and you can basically use a lot more Lava Lash and Storm Strike. So that's your stat priorities you're going to want to follow for Enhancement Shaman as of 7.1.5 with your Tier 19 4-set build. So next up in the guide are talents. Now, the talents have been somewhat controversial, but not so much anymore. They're quite set in stone at the moment. So, for 7.1.5, the talents you're going to want to follow are as follows. Now, Boulder Fist, it sort of takes the cutting edge over Hot Hands and Windsong. basically, the reason being is it's a flat Maelstrom generation, so you have a big burst of Maelstrom coming in if you ever need it, and it gives you just quite simply a flat 5% damage increase. Who doesn't want to have 5% damage spread over everything they have, all of their abilities? It's great. It's great. Hot Hands and Windsong, if you don't have a full set of tier 19, so a full 4 set of tier 19 gear, go Hot Hands personally. That's what I used to use. It is much better than Windsong. But apart from that, if you have full tier 19 4 set, Boulder Fist is the way to go. It's amazing. Your tier 30 and 45 talents, neither of them have a play on DPS. Obviously you use Rainfall where you need healing in a raid. For Lunge if you want to sort of move from enemy to enemy really quick, and Windrush Totem if you need to move, or your team or your squad needs to move quickly. So they're really personal preference. So are these tier 45. I just use Lightning Surge Totem because I like stunning people and enraging them. They get very mad. So stunning is amazing. It's really helpful. T60 talents, Lightning Shield. It's a bit of a meme. No one ever uses it. No one should use it because it's not very good at the moment. It's not very good at the moment. When it comes to these two talents, Astral Swift and Hailstorm. Now in 7.1 we used to use Hailstorm mainly because it gives you the Frostbrand buff and it makes you do a bit more damage. But since then it has been nerfed heavily, and as of now it's just not as good as the flat 6% haste you get from Ancestral Swiftness. That's why Ancestral Swiftness is the go-to tier 60 talent. I mean, you can use Hailstorm, but there's just so much room for error, and it's just not as good as the haste boost. Quite simply because of the fact that it synergizes with more Maelstrom coming in, and you can pull out more Lava Lash and Storm Strikes. Tempest, quite simply, it's amazing. It synergizes the best out of all of your talents with your second bonus you get from the tier 19 4 set. Basically, Lava Lash gives you a 20% chance per Lava Lash to proc Storm Strike, which helps proc Tempest, which is quite simply 2 Storm Strikes, but they're empowered, so they're a bit stronger. Overcharge, if you do not have 2 set or 4 set of tier 19 armor, Overcharge is the way to go. Just make sure you're using Lightning Bolt on cooldown. It is your main DPS. Tier 90, currently Crushing Storm is the way to go, mainly because it just gives you a buff when you hit 2 or more targets, 3 or more, etc, etc, etc. It just gives you a flat buff that's quite simply, it's amazing. Fury of Air was the way to go, but not so much anymore. Crushing Storm is definitely the way to go. Sundering, it's horrible, so is Empowered Stormlash. These two are horrible, so you never really want to pick them. And yeah, so tier 100, Ascendance, it's alright. It's not as good as Landslide. Landslide may have been nerfed, but is still by far one of just the best tier 100 talent. You just get a flat 8% agility buff. As I was talking about before in the stat priorities, agility is your main stat, so increasing that by 8% is a freaking amazing buff you get. So Landslide is just the best stat you can get, or the best talent you can get for your tier 100. The other two, they're just quite simply not as good as Landslide. Yeah, so that's your talents, guys. It's pretty straightforward. Just copy what I have on my screen, and yeah, you'll be right. So next off in the guide is gear. Now, gear is a bit irritating. Gear and Legendaries, I'm actually going to pop them both into the same little category because, quite simply, Legendaries are literally come into the category of gear. So, when it comes to gear, the main things you want to focus on are really Legendaries and Trinkets. Everything else is just Haste Mastery. So as you can see, for the most part, I'm trying to gear myself up with Haste Mastery. So anything that isn't a Seppi should have Haste Mastery. As you can see, I've got a Mastery Haste back piece. That's eye level 900. My chest is haste crit. Obviously, I haven't been as lucky with all my gear. My wrist is mastery crit. Now this is another set piece. I've got another haste mastery, waist, and yeah, just follow the general haste mastery, or as long as it has either haste or mastery, really, for the most part. And yeah, that's that. Now, when it comes to trinkets, your two current best in slot trinkets, aside from the legendary one, is the Convergence of Fate, which is this one here. What that does is it basically it has a chance to proc your auto attacks and every one of your attacks to cool down Fear of Spirits by 5 seconds. Now this is currently proccing around 8 to 10 times a minute. Do the maths, that's at least 45 seconds, or around 45-ish seconds of Feral Spirits per minute. Feral Spirits are amazing for DPS. I'll go into that later on when I'm covering your rotation, which is next. And Bloodthirsty's Instinct. Now, although I may not be using a Bloodthirsty's Instinct as of right now, that's quite simply because the hunger of the pack that I have is 950 in item level, and it gives me just a lot more agility, so it's just all that better. But if you have a really high item level Bloodthirsty's Instinct, I'd recommend to use that. By high item level, I mean try and get like 885, 890, and if you go high, you're golden, you're good to go. Now, Bloodthirsty's Instinct, the bonus you get is it procs to give you 3,300 haste. This is quite simple. It's just amazing. The haste buff is it's amazing. Now, in saying all of this, when you get a new trinket, simulate it. Now, I'll be talking about this later on in the video. What I mean by simulate is there is an add-on you can get called SIMCRAFT, and a downloadable program that you must get as well. Now, what you do is you type in /SIMC, which is SimC, and you get a whole bunch of text. You copy that text, go into SIMCRAFT, whack it in SIMCRAFT, and click simulate, and it'll tell you, give or take, if your new trinket or item you get for your gear is better. I'll cover that more when we get into the add-ons later on in the guide. But SIMCRAFT, guys, it is amazing. YouTube how to use SIMCRAFT if you need to as well. SIMCRAFT is it's a great little program and add-on. I've currently got it. I'll give you an example. SIMC, and there you go. This damn it, hold on a minute. And there you have it. So this is SIMCRAFT. It spits out all your gear, your artifact, your talents, and everything. And it basically it allows the program to simulate your character in a perfect environment. Okay, so next up on my list is the rotation. But before I do that, I quickly want to show you what a Bloodthirsty's Instinct looks like and where to farm these items. I've got a couple of them actually at the moment. I'll just pull out the one that I used to use. Now, if any of you have been playing Enhancement Shaman since 7.1, the spontaneous appendages was amazing. This trinket was seriously a freaking amazing trinket for Enhancement Shaman. If you had this, you were golden. But ever since 7.1.5 came out, it has been nerfed. Not nerfed, but it has been adjusted. Basically, this trinket here was proccing a lot more than what it should have back in 7.1, so they just readjusted that. Now, the places to farm the two go-to trinkets at the moment is one of them is in the Emerald Nightmare from Ursoc. Bloodthirsty's Instinct, right here. You want to try and run that on Mythic if you can. Try and get a group together and try and get this at a high item level. And the other trinket you want is from the Nighthold, which is currently the newest raid. And it is from Grand Magistrix Elisand. She drops the Convergence of Fate. And try and run that on Mythic if you're up to it. Currently my guild that I'm with is, we're only at Heroic at the moment, but we are working our way through Mythic. I think we're at 4 out of 10 Mythic, so we aren't quite up to Elisand yet. But I don't see us being stuck where we are for very long. So that's that. And yeah, that's gear. Next up is rotation, but first, before I go up through the rotation, Legendaries. Now this is, admittedly, the way Blizzard have implemented legendaries in Legion isn't so good. I don't quite like it. But first things first, the go-to legendary is the Eye of Twisting Nether. I use this with everything. It is amazing. It's just a flat 3% damage boost if you use it properly. The other two legendaries you want is both the headpiece, because Lust lasts 75% longer. Now this headpiece is amazing for short fights. 3 minutes, 4 minutes and under really, the fights. This is amazing. If you lust twice in a fight, so I think it's just 10 minutes and longer fights, it is once again amazing. But if the fight goes on from 5 minutes or I guess 9 minutes, it's just not as good. But it's still a freaking amazing legendary. And the third legendary you're going to want to get is the chest piece, mainly because if you hit 3 or more targets with Crush Lightning, this thing just gives you a flat 10% damage buff. Simple as that. It is amazing for AoE. This thing here is freaking amazing. All the other legendaries, they're alright. They're all average. The wrist is freaking terrible. If you have this, I feel sorry for you. But you don't want that. If you don't have any of these other legendaries, I guess the go-to ones would be the finger, the Surfield's Secret, and the neck piece. Quite similar because of the stat stick. The legs, they're good for a stat stick, but I really wouldn't use them. The trinket, it's great, but if you have another legendary, I'd recommend equipping that because you're better off just getting normal trinkets and getting the buff of a normal legendary aside from this one. The waist, I mean, it's alright. I personally wouldn't use it. It's not great. The stats aren't amazing, but definitely try and use something else but the waist. And the feet, as of now, I currently have them right here. They're only really good on Elisand. Elisand, you have to do a lot of running around, and you can really utilize the Feral Spirits and the Ghost Wolf from that legendary. Okay, so they're the legendaries in the gear. Next up is your rotation. Now, this video is already 17.5 minutes long, so I'm going to try and speed up now. So just try and focus, pay attention, pause the video, take notes, whatever you need to do. There is, in a sense, like a written version of all this that WordUp has made. I'll be talking about that later on in the video. So, rotation. Now, to play a Shaman, you sort of have to know what everything does. But that's just to play any class. You sort of need to know what each and every ability does. Quite simply, Shamans are very freaking easy. You want to keep your Boulder Fist and your Flame Tongue buff on at all times. So if you're attacking a target, you make sure that these two buffs are on at all times. Next up is your Feral Spirits, your Doom Winds, and your Crush Lightning. Now, when you summon your Feral Spirits, you always want to cast Crush Lightning as soon as you can afterwards. Reason being is, with your artifact, there is a bonus called Alpha Wolf, which basically it makes them do AoE damage to everything around, and is just a massive DPS increase for your Feral Spirits, even on single target. So remember, Feral Spirits and Crush Lightning as soon as you can. On cooldown, you use your Feral Spirits, and then you pop Crush Lightning once or twice while the Feral Spirits are up. Next up is your Doom Winds. You're going to be using this on cooldown every time it comes off cooldown. This basically, it empowers your Storm Strike, your Lava Lash, and your Boulder Fist. It just makes it do more damage and makes Wind Fury proc a bit, which helps proc more Storm Strikes. Now, in saying all of these aren't obviously up all the time, so you just want to maintain your buffs and just keep Doom Winds and Feral Spirits on cooldown because they're amazing. Now, this is where you get into your main damage dealers. This is where you pull out the big numbers. Storm Strike. The way this works is if you have a proc or Storm Strike up, use it. Storm Strike is amazing. This is where all your damage is going to be coming from. It is the biggest, the most hard-hitting, and when it procs, you do a lot of damage. So when you have a bit of Maelstrom built up and you don't have a Storm Strike proc, just give me a second so I can use it. Oh my god. Yeah, so this is where it's amazing. You proc so much with Storm Strike. So let's say you don't have Storm Strike. Oh my god. Stop proccing Storm Strike. Just for the video, stop proccing. Why can't normal fights be this awesome? So yeah, so you don't have Storm Strike and you want to fill it up. Basically what you do is you dump all of your mastery or your extra mastery on Lava Lash. Lava Lash, obviously, as I was saying before, has a 20% chance to proc Storm Strike and reduce its cooldown, etc, etc, etc. And it just becomes all around amazing. It becomes so helpful. So the way I run it is, if you're over-ish, 40-ish Maelstrom, I'll use Lava Lash, quite simply because it's amazing. And just keep topping up your buffs when you need to. Obviously using Feral Spirits and Doom Winds on cooldown because of the added proc chance. Apart from that, guys, honestly, Enhancement Shaman it's that easy to play. So remember, as a summary, Boulder Fist, Flame Tongue buff all the time. Keep them up, don't drop them. You'll lose a lot of DPS. Feral Spirits and Crash Lightning while they're up. Quite simply because they're amazing. And they're a big damage increase to single target. And Doom Winds on cooldown because, well, quite simply, Doom Winds buffs your weapon so much and it'll make you do a lot of damage while it is up. So use that on cooldown. Now, when it comes to food and buffs you want, you're going to be using the Nightborn Delicacy Platter. This is a flat mastery food. It's just the go-to. It's just quite simply better than a haste food. Flasks, Flask of the Seventh Demon. This is an agility pot. If you're not using this, you're doing something wrong. It is amazing. And when it comes to potions, Potion of Prolonged Power. It's quite simply it's a great gives you great stats. Simply, it's just that easy. It just buffs all your stats. And yeah, guys, that's your rotation for Enhancement Shaman. Wow, this is a 22-minute video. Okay, anyway, next on my list are your add-ons. There are 3 add-ons that I'm going to be covering. I'll try and whiz through these. If you need any more information on these add-ons, just Google them. The internet is full of guides on how to get these add-ons. The first add-on I'll be covering is SIMCRAFT. Now, what SIMCRAFT is it basically it puts your character in a perfect environment, and in a sense, it helps you tell if your gear that you get is better than what you've currently got equipped. So here it is, Simulation Craft. I recommend using Curse to install all of these add-ons that I'm about to talk about. It's amazing, but it's the thing I did before. You type in /SIMC, and it basically tells you, it gives you this big long bit of code. You whack this into your Simulation Craft program that you download off the internet, and you can calculate your stat priorities and all of that quite simply just by using this one program. The place you get SimCraft, I'll leave it in the description in case I forget. Just quite simply type in SimCraft World of Warcraft on Google and download SimCraft and try and install the add-on. It makes your life a lot easier. Okay, the next add-on I'll be talking about is Pawn. P-A-W-N, not P-O-R-N. Get your mind out of the gutter, guys. I know you're thinking about that. So, quite simply, what Pawn is it tells you your stat weights for your class. Now, this goes hand in hand with SimCraft because you can get your Pawn string add-on key string from SimCraft. So, there will be guides on the internet on how to do that. I won't be covering that in this video because, quite frankly, I can talk about SimCraft all day. It's amazing. But what you do is when you first install the add-on, you'll be on automatic mode. Basically switch it to, go to scaling tab, switch it to manual, get your pawn string that you get from SimCraft, import it, and then, you know, you're good to go from there. Basically, I have a couple of different strings at the moment. I'm currently using the Opus string and the Feat string. These are personal strings that I've made. Basically, they're for the different builds I currently have with my Legendaries. And yeah, it's quite simply, it's that easy. So if you're wondering what the blue text at the bottom of each one of these items is, and it says like second best and base, this and that, that's basically Pawn telling me, hey, you know, for your Opus build, which is with the Magnum Opus Legendary, you're getting currently 58,406 DPS from this trinket from stats alone. And as you can see, that trinket is better than both of these other trinkets because they quite simply don't give as much Now this is with raw stats. You cannot really talk about stats on trinkets because they give you special buffs, but SIMCRAFT sorts all that out. Okay, and the last add-on that I'm going to really be talking about is weak auras too. So weak auras is basically, it's this thing here. It basically tells you your cooldowns and everything, and it helps you just visually see how your class is doing, how your buffs are going, and all that. I'm currently using someone called Word Up. His weak auras. I'll leave the guide to his Icy Veins guide, and from there you can probably just Google his add-on. I think I might even try and find the link for the description in that. So just go into the description. I should have a link on his weak auras. But the way you do it is you install the add-on, you reboot your game, you type /WA for weak auras, you click on new, import, and then you'll have a really long string to paste into here. And what this is it basically it imports a big I guess interface for you, and you can customize these interfaces. As you can see, you can literally move everything. But yeah, I have a bit of an OCD with these. I don't like it being out of line, so that'll have to do for now. And yeah, this is for any classes where you can get these sort of things. So these are really great. I actually quite focus on these. As you can see, it says my Doom Winds was ready, tells me how long I have left with it, and then after 2 seconds, it'll give me how long I have left till the next cooldown is. It's off cooldown pretty much. Same with Feral Spirits, I've got it for 15 seconds, and then once that's over, it'll tell me the cooldown. And yeah, guys, they're the add-ons. I've also covered weak auras, so I won't need to really cover that. Weak auras is amazing. It's quite simply just the best. I love weak auras, and there are a whole variety of different weak auras you can get. There are a whole bunch of people, but I personally use Word Up because I've been following his guides for months now, and yeah, it's just the best looking, I personally think. Okay, so that is pretty much going to conclude this video. This is a freaking long ass video, but it is thorough. You will know everything about Shaman now, and you can skip through this video very easily with the links at the start of the video. The last thing I want to quickly touch up on is Icy Veins. This is where I've learned about Enhancement Shaman. There is also an Enhancement Shaman Discord. Just go ahead and Google it. I'm sure there are links out there on the internet everywhere. Word Up was the creator of this Icy Veins guide. I give him credit to really just making this guide. He's put it all into words. I've read it. I've thoroughly learnt it. I've even spoken to him and asked him questions about it. And I've pretty much compiled that into one reasonably long video, 28 minutes. The previous video I recorded where I had no audio was only 23 minutes, but it wasn't as thorough as this video, so that's that. So Icy Veins, I'll leave a link to that. I'll leave a link to the add-ons if I can, and I've just got a whole bunch of links to leave in the description. If I leave any links, please leave it in the description. Let me know and I'll find them and add them to the description. And yeah. Anyway, guys, I've been talking for 28 minutes. I am freaking thirsty now, and I have a whole bunch of editing to do now, but there you have it, guys. You've now learned really how to play Enhancement Shaman. It's an easy class. It's not a difficult class. Yeah, so if you have any questions, any suggestions, anything you want to add, anything you want to change, leave a comment in the video and I'll get back to you ASAP. Quite simply, it's that easy, guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you've made it this far into the video, I don't understand how you've physically done that. You must be really keen to play Enhancement Shaman at the best of your capabilities, and I applaud you for that. But yeah, guys, thanks for watching. I do hope you've enjoyed, and yeah, if you have any comments, any questions, just whack it in the comments section, and I'll get back to you ASAP. Peace out, guys.